the globe on here. So I want to shout you all out. Thank you for spending time and rocking with the brand, but the brand is going to bring it like I do. And so this is Talk of the Town Tuesday. You know, I'm in the business of particularly mentoring and talking with the youth about things that that are pertinent. I'm a big advocate that the public school to prison pipeline is not teaching our children anything, and so we have to be able to combat that and offer something else. And so, but I'm not the only one in the game doing that. There are other people in the game that are doing that. And tonight we're going to talk to this queen who's out here in these streets. She's doing her thing. She's not only doing her thing on the mentoring side, but the queen is also, she's got an artistic gift as well. Like, don't sleep on this queen, because she has actually been around the world, has traveled, and it has been a very popular artist out on the scene. And so, but now she's taking it to the next level. She's dealing with our youth, particularly our young kings. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce you to Shelli I, who is our Talk of the Town Tuesday. She's going to tell you a little bit more about herself and what her mission is, what her company organization is doing, and how we can all aid and assist in that. So, without further ado, I want to turn this camera around. And we're going to meet the Queen, Shelli I. Let me make sure I get this camera straight, and so that there are no, let me see. Yeah, I want to make sure it's proper there. And yes, then let's turn it around. Shelli I, thank you for being with us tonight on Talk of the Town Tuesday.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what your organization's doing, what you hope to accomplish. Give us a little breakdown on your bio, and so the audience knows a little bit more about you.
Okay, sounds great. I just want to say, just want to give a big up to your audience, Yarima, Karama, and give thanks to the Black community. We've been standing firm and making our way to understand who we are and what we need to do to become who we need to become. And so I'm very thankful to be able to share time with you, Karima, and with your audience, as well as those that have come from my Facebook page. So I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and thank you for your support. As Karima said, my name is Shelli I, and I'm a singer, songwriter, musician, activist. I have toured. I've been recording since I was 16 years old, and I am still doing music. I'm working on a full project, which is not only about music. As a matter of fact, music is just a small portion of this project. The bigger portion of the project is really about our boys and young men, and it's about redistribution of wealth, as is entailed in Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Powernomics, which I do subscribe to. So I want to thank you, Dr. Claude Anderson, for putting your energy out into the universe. I was a very, very young sister when I read your book. And Brother Donnell Muhammad from Mosque number 43 had recommended that I read the book, and at the time it was just powerful. And it never really dawned on me how powerful until years later, all of that information started coming back to me. So you remember when you talk about the project and wanting me to share some information about the project. Basically, I was a single mother of two sons, and was also a sister with nothing but brothers. And I am very versed in A to Z pretty well. However, I understood, especially in raising my sons and in watching my brothers develop, because we lost our parents at a very young age, that there was something different that boys and young men go through than what us girls and young women go through. And even at a ripe young age of 10, when by the time both of my parents were deceased. I understood and felt some responsibility over my brothers, although they were much, much older than me. But there was some responsibility there. I would carry that all the way through parenting, which was a big struggle. As I said, I was a single parent and I did not have support. So the struggle was good though, because it produced something inside of me. And during that production, there came a desire for me to work with, a vision to work with single mothers and their children. And so I was there doing that for a long time. And I had a lot of success there. But as my children, my boys, started to get older and they reached adulthood at 12 and 13 years old, I realized there was more of a responsibility. And as we have come into the last 10 years, there was something that I started to notice. I have a lot of visions and dreams, and I've seen things happen, and so have other people who know me well. So I started to realize that the powers that be were trying to bring slavery back. And a lot of people, when I would say it, they'd laugh and say, well, slavery never left. Of course, we're talking about indentured slavery, though. But I was literally talking about the knockdown, drag out, horrific, genocidal slavery that our ancestors went through, which is unheard of to see, feel, hear, understand, or go through a second time. It will never happen. And so in that, there was a passion that I had, but as I started seeing the brutality and the hatred that was unleashed on our boys and young men, I was taken aback in a way that I can't even explain. I first started, all I could do was cry. Every time I saw something, all I could do was wail. And us sisters need to remember how to wail again, because there's power in that. And we haven't done that in a very, very long time, but we need to get together, because what it does is there's a show of display. What it does is it breaks the spirit of desensitization. And so where we have images that we are throwing up on internet to show death and murder and choking and hanging and, gunshot wounds and young brothers laying dead in the street, that is a horror to any of us brothers and sisters. And we need to be very careful about doing that, because it is desensitizing our community. And we can't afford that, because we have to mobilize. So as I began to see what I had known in the actual physical, it hurt so bad. I can't explain the pain that I felt. And I just kept thinking about, every time I would see some of the young men, and they were all those that had not done anything wrong whatsoever, had not lived anything outside of the norm of a normal developing young boy or young man. Yet and still, they would still be disturbed. I was most disturbed by those events that were destroying our best boys and young men. And in that, I couldn't allow it to be. And I decided that I was going to do something about it. So about, now it's been almost 14 years. I've been working on this project, and I won't stop working on it. First, you have to work on something to launch it. I feel that we develop things in the community to put together something that we feel is going to be profound. But I think that we never reach the highest plateau because we don't have enough planning time. And when I've noticed that we have been our best, it's been because we put plenty of years of planning into what we're doing, which means that you can have the optimum resources that you've created based on your financial base, the optimum resources as it pertains to the support of your community, the optimum resources as it pertains to global contacts, the optimum resources as it pertains to travel and networking and social media and or media period, the optimum resources as it pertains to all of the dynamics that have to be taken into consideration as far as marketing is concerned, enough time to gain the financial support overall that you need to do what it is that you want to do. But there has to be enough time to communicate to very large groups of people and very specific key people that will maybe not be investors, but will be donators, will be sponsors. And so in that, there's a lot of time that goes into it. And it was something that I didn't want to rush. I don't want to rush, but I am in the thick of it. I'm already at colleges and universities. So basically, the project is comprised of 3 components. There's an art exhibit, which commemorates and celebrates those who have passed on. I feel that we don't celebrate the people in our community enough. So I wanted to do something to change that. There is also the component of the music project, an 18-song CD, which we have several people that have become a part of the project to come together in the compilation works. We have Sonny Patterson, Bobby Floyd, Sonny Patterson, famous poet. Bobby Floyd is a world-renowned jazz pianist, and several other people that are lined up. Yarima, Karama, and I have been talking for about a year now about doing some things as far as on the project too. So I'm sure that Yarima, Karama, and I also will be working together on the project. And so that's the second component of the project. The third component of the project is the Boys and Young Men's Chess Club. This is the most important part of the project. The Boys and Young Men's Chess Club is set up to be in a college and university settings. It is set up that boys can be mentored by chess masters, chess champions. They can be mentored by career mentors. They can be mentored by young men that are college students, successful college students. And it's a chess club, but it's not just any chess club. It's very unique in the way that it operates and the things that it is purposed for. So inside of that, as we get into things a little bit, I'll explain more about the entire project. But each component of the project is set up to be able to operate according to chess in every way. The images, the promotional tools, the art, the boys and young men. However, it's all for the boys and young men. It's about redistribution of wealth and a trilateral components that work together under the umbrella of Inner Productions, which is a production organization, production company under my record label, Inner Records. And so the boys and young men will tour. Basically, when the art exhibit tours locally, nationally, and internationally, we are doing a college tour, but we're also booking outside of the college tour. When the art exhibit tours, the music project will tour. When the music project tours, the Boys and Young Men's Chess Club will tour, and they will actually compete from college to college and university to university with other chapters of the Boys and Young Men's Chess Club, which, by the way, is called BIM, Boys and Young Men. They'll compete, and so we will have chess champions, we will have chess masters, and we will have grandmasters. The whole point is to allow our boys to see a mirror image of what they should look like. My whole objective inside of dealing with the boys and young men is I started to realize in our community we have so many single-parented homes. The largest percent of single-parented homes are parented by women, and many of us were parented by single mothers for one reason or another based on any range of dynamics. But the point is that girls have a direct representative of what a queen should look like. Now, that doesn't mean every single mother or every woman is a queen. That's just not true. There are things that lots of us have to learn, and we will be continuing to learn and grow in becoming queens. But the point is more that girls have a direct representative of what a queen should look like. Boys, many times, most times, don't have that. They don't have a direct representative of what a king should look like. And we're running very, very low on kings. We just don't have a lot of kings out here. We're thankful for brothers like Yarima Karama. We're thankful for brothers in our community here in Columbus, like Brother Hatim. Some of the greatest work with boys, children period, but boys. I mean, he's really gone in for quite some years, and his heart is just real pure as it pertains to helping them develop. And so inside of that, knowing that there just aren't enough kings on the board, if you would, the chessboard, which is our lives, which is our community. It means that we're dilapidated. So I started to come up with some concepts, and we'll talk about some of that as Karima pulls that out of me. I don't want to, take over the mic, but the point is to develop our boys and young men to have an understanding of who they are, to be able to desire more than the limited aspects of what they have in their hands right now, which isn't enough. It's just not enough to be. And the other thing is to separate them mentally from the opportunity that presents itself as sheer and utter destructive havoc in the way that their lives could just be snatched from them. We want to get them in a different setting. We don't want to have an after-school program at a public school. We don't need that anymore. Those boys and young men don't need to see the public school another hour, another minute, another day. We want to take them out of the schools, because my whole thing is, if education is so important to the public school system, then why aren't they taking our boys and young men, or our children period, on field trips to go to all the local colleges and universities in each city? Because they don't care about the education of our children. It's not their job, it is our job. I'm not going to blame anybody else. I blame myself, which causes me to get to work. And I just want to say, let's all of us be more cognizant of what it is that we need to input into our community, input into our boys and young men, and that they don't need to be our personal children that we birthed or that we seeded. We must understand that all of these boys and young men are our children.
Okay, great. Let me turn it around here real quick. And I'm so glad that you said that, Queen Shelli. And again, if you were just tuning in, this is Talk of the Town Tuesday. Our Talk of the Town Tuesday tonight is this Queen Shelli, who's doing some great work. She's a phenomenal artist. Has been on the artistic scene for some years. Actually, as a side note, she won't talk about it, but I will. She's actually had some of her music stolen by some of these artists that people be out here big up and. Yeah. But not to get off subject, I think it's important that you said all of these young men are our children. We have to stop looking at, look at Tariq's son over there. No, that's our son. Look at Johnny's son over there. I think we have to really embrace. When we talk about a village, it takes a village. We have to really embrace that philosophy. The same thing I always talk about when we talk about hashtag we all we got. It's just mere words. It just becomes like I love you unless you're putting some action behind it. There is no I love you really unless I really love you. And so there is no we all we got unless we really all we got. And there is no that's your child. Especially when we're talking about being in a system where we're trying to uplift a nation. And so the Queen, let me tell you, first of all, let me say this. I was actually on a movie set, how I met this Queen. I was on a movie set I was on a movie set. Of course, guess who got killed? Yeah, exactly. So we don't need to go there anymore. I was on the movie set. I got my 20 seconds of fame. Guy walked by, pulled the gun, bam, he shot me. And my partner told me, he said, "Man, you actually made the cut. The movie went on, and yeah, they said you got killed greatly." And but here's how this works now. Shelli, I showed up on the scene because she's working on some other stuff. And the director of that actually was like, "Yo, you two need to meet." White guy was like, "Yo, you two need to meet," because he knew what I was on, knew what she was in. He knew her more than he knew me. And so this is how we connected. We started talking. She told me about the project. I'm just like, absolutely, and it's almost, I mean, to be honest, I'm just going to be, this is real life, real talk. So I'm going to be honest. What it compelled me to do is go even harder, because as a man, and this is no disrespect to the Black queens out here who are doing their thing, no disrespect at all, but as a man, I think that particularly when it comes to Black children, Black male children, as a man, no woman should be going harder than we are. I'm going to put that out there, and I'll just wait and hear crickets. And so when she told me about the project, it was just like, you know what, Yarima, you really got to go even harder than what you're doing right now. And so, and I think for all men around the country, I think that this is so important. And you also got something, Queen, that you and when I spoke at the event a few weeks back, and you and I have talked about the last day of Kwanzaa, but you and I have talked about this in the past as well. You also have this thing where it's almost like you wanted to do like a rally type march with just the queens to uplift Black men and show your support. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think that was phenomenal. And I just, I think that for our Black men out here, they need to know the work that and just the ideas that you have that are just phenomenal.
Good thanks. Thank you for remembering that too.
Yeah.
Because the Black man is the most important man to the Black woman. And we can't be a better Black woman without recognizing that. It's just highly important. There's some things I want to talk about behind that also, but I had a vision to do a walk, a parade of sorts, where we would go all over the city where there are the largest pockets of Black people and Black men.
Yes.
So that we could put on display with art, with our words, with step teams, with children, with different organizations, with the love and support of people who just want to come outside of their house just to see what we're doing, just so that we can give honor and give praise to the Black man, because the Black man, there's been no one who's been more torn down than the Black man. And so we want to build the Black man up. We want the Black man to heal. We want the Black man to be at his best. And I don't think it's only about words. I think that it's about putting something behind it. I will say that the project that I'm working on is the largest thing that I'm doing. It's very, very, very extremely large project. I actually don't know anyone. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the music industry and in the entertainment industry as a whole. And I can tell you, I don't actually know anyone. I know people who are making some serious money in the music industry and in the entertainment industry. But I don't know anyone who has a bigger project than I. And I'm not saying that to toot my horn, because this is some work that if I could get out of it, I'd be the worst person on the planet. I would probably die if I didn't do this work. It's definitely something that it is a gift, but it's hard. It's very difficult, and it's a lot. I've never been stretched this far in my entire life. And I understand what it is to sacrifice and give up literally everything. There are not too many people that can say, there are people who can say they know what it is to give up, to have to give everything up. But there's a big difference between deciding to give everything up and being forced by circumstances to give everything up. And so
Right.
I have not been able to put that project completely together, but it's not something that I've forgotten about, and it is something that I want to do. And I am asking if there are sisters out there that would like to help me do that, because my hands are so full. I'm just one sister. But if there are sisters that would like to help me and like to come together, please contact me. You can go to Facebook and you can see me on Facebook. I'm constantly on Yarima's page. I'll be sure to make sure I put some stuff up. Yarima can put some stuff up, but please, by all means, it's Shelli I. That's my name on Facebook. And
spell that for us,
it's
Queen.
S is in Sam, H is in Harry, E is in Edward, L is in Linda, L is in Linda, I is in Ida. Last name is I. E is in Edward, Y is in Yvette, E is in Edward. Shelli I.
Yeah.
And so you can also email me at shellieyesky@gmail.com. That's spelled S is in Sam, H is in Harry, E is in Edward, L is in Linda, L is in Linda, I is in Ida, E is in Edward, Y is in Yvette, E is in Edward, S is in Sam, S is in Sam, K is in Katie, Y is in Yvette, @gmail.com. That's shellieyesky@gmail.com. And that eyes is plural. shellieyesky@gmail.com.
So Queen, I put out two words this year, particularly at the start of the year, and I think I even talked about them at the event. And those two words are one, value. That we have to value one another. We really have to start valuing one another again. And the other word was execution. Like, we know what the problem is. For those that don't know what the problem is, they need to get from up under the rock that they're sleeping under and get with the program. But we know what the problem is. Like, for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 years, we've been talking about the problem. This is the problem. One of the biggest problems that we have is our lack of unity, but even more so, even with the small groups that are unified, because everybody's not this unified, but even with the small groups that are unified, they don't execute. So it becomes a lot of talk. It becomes some good ideas, some great ideas. So what are you seeing on your level, as far as particularly sisters getting on board with what you're doing? We need to hear the importance of that to inspire some Black men to get on board and help out too.
Absolutely. And I thank you for bringing that point up. And it's a wonderful question to bring out some important truths. So yes, absolutely. I think that you're very right when you brought up those words, value and execution. I think you're very right that we need to be able to value who's supposed to be valued, and we need to be able to execute a plan of action that's well thought out and well planned. So the first thing I'll say, as far as the word value, one of the things that I realized as I was dealing with chess some 13, almost 14 years ago, I was studying chess and I was realizing that there's some deep components. I want to first say that I have a brother, my oldest brother, who was a genius. He was a physics major and a philosophy minor. He was deemed a genius in high school and in New York, which is where I'm from originally. I've been in Columbus for a long time, as well as other places. But my brother was working on a project to prove some things with nuclear fusion and fission at the time that he died, and he was murdered by classmates. And there was a big cover up by one of the institutions my brother went to. It had to do with faculty. And it's the first time I'm saying this out loud, and so I probably am not going to say it again, just because there's a lot of things that you don't really want to put out there in the universe. But I do want people to understand my passion comes from my brother died when I was 9. So between my father dying when I was 7, my mother dying when I was 10, was my brother when I was 9.
Mm.
And it impacted me in a way that I think that's that turn that I was talking about before, concerning being so overly concerned with how young men are going to do. And my brothers were older than I, all of them. And my mother died with a broken heart because she lost her firstborn, and he was a very, very successful young man. The point that I want to make about value is that part of why we're doing the exhibit on the project is to bring value to our people. The second thing I'd like to point out is that in chess, what we may not understand is the World Chess Federation says that pawns are the least valuable piece on the board. That's a pretty big deal. Pawns are the least valuable piece on the board. They're on the front line. They move one space at a time and catch one space at a time, except on their first move out. They can move 2 spaces. Each piece can move 2 spaces. And remember, they're on the front line. The only pieces behind them are the back line, and those pieces are all powerful pieces. So the pawn is on the front line. And it reminds me of a song Stevie Wonder used to sing. They had me standing on the front line. They had me standing on the front line. Now I'm at the back of the line when it comes to getting ahead. And the whole thing is about a soldier who was at war in Vietnam and he got his leg shot off. This whole song is about that. But the dynamics inside of that song are the dynamics that we deal with in our community, period. And so one of the things that we cannot afford is to not understand where value needs to be placed. So they're saying that our pawns are the least valuable piece on the board. I realized that our pawns, or the pawns that they're talking about, are actually our sons in this day and time. They're our boys and young men. So they're on the front line being murdered like it's nothing. They don't even have to have a reason. Are you serious? You know, and so it's not enough to march. It's not enough to go to court. It's still someone else's system. And this is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was doing when he was developing a nation within a nation. This is what the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey was doing when he was developing not only a nation, but when he was developing the Starliner and the redistribution of wealth that he was creating. This is what we're doing in communication when we're speaking to our people like Malcolm X. This is what we're doing when we're writing books like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, you know, the ISIS papers that will seed our young people. This is required in Black studies programs in colleges and universities. So the point I want to get to is that if our pawns are the least valuable piece on the board, it made me wonder, well, how should I be looking at these other pieces? So, you know, skipping over the other pieces because, you know, based on the limited time that we have, I want to jump to the king. The other pieces, they can slide back and forth and forward and backwards, and they catch the same way that they move. And that's the rooks on either side of the back line. Going inward, the knight, and the knight moves in an L shape, like an isosceles triangle, like an angle. He's on horseback, 4 squared. You know, he's operating in a motion as though he is in protective mode, because that's exactly what his job is. No matter where he is on the board, his job is to create a perimeter that actually closes in this space. Even if he's on the other side of the board, he's operating and creating this space as though the king is directly behind him. That's a man. So then you move inward, and he catches the same way that he moves. You move inward, and you got the bishop. The bishop moves diagonally all the way across the board, backwards and forwards, in either direction, diagonally. And he catches the same way he moves. He is the piece that actually gives advice to the king and the queen. He's on either side of the king and the queen. Going back, the rook actually scans the perimeter of the castle to make sure he can see if enemy lines are coming, to make sure he understands, what's going on out there, if there's an imminent attack approaching. And so he looks like the top of a castle for that reason. So if you move inward, we're going to talk about the king. The king moves one space at a time and catches one space at a time. He can move in all directions, but he moves one space at a time and catches one space at a time. Just in case you're not understanding why I'm slowing down like this, it's because it's so deep. The pawn moves one space at a time and catches one space at a time. He moves forward only and catches on the diagonal only, but one space at a time. I started realizing at some point in time, about 13 years ago, the pawn and the king are so much alike. Wait a minute, the pawn is the king and the king is the pawn. That's when I started to realize I need to envision, based on the passion that I had when my brother died, the passion that I had for my brothers, and now the passion that I've gained for boys and young men, all of our boys and young men in our community. So there's a passion that I'm asking you to embody with me so that you can understand where I'm coming from. The pawn moves one space at a time. The king moves one space at a time. There's a term in Jamaica that we use, and we say, hold your space. And it basically means just that. Hold your space. Stand firm. Gird your loins and stand firm. Hold fast. That's what that means. It means hold your ground. And so what we're not understanding is that our kings have been removed. They've been dethroned. We took, Brother Yarima Karama talked about the school to prison pipeline. This is what we must eliminate. We must eliminate the middle option for them to actually go through this passage. This passage is not our wonderful, honorable right to passage that our ancestors and elders set up for us and set up for our boys and young men to come through properly, that they can come into manhood and that they can be all that they were developed to be. So in that, we need to understand the king is the most valuable piece on the board. Again, we need to understand that the king is the most valuable piece on the board. So now, when we say the king is the most valuable piece on the board, what does that mean? The word kingdom, not queendom, there's no such thing as a queendom. The word kingdom means the domain of the king. The domain of the king, kingdom, the domain of the king. It's not a queendom, it's a kingdom, which means if you don't have a king, you can't have a kingdom. So the problem that we are encompassing, whether we are brothers or sisters in the community, whether we are men or women or girls or boys in our community, the problem that we are all having, the dilemma that we have across the board is that we don't have a kingdom. And so inside of that, there should be a development of kingdom. What would that take? Well, now is where I turn to Dr. Claude Anderson, because Dr. Claude Anderson entails in the book Powernomics, very expressly, very detailed redistribution of wealth and what we need to be able to do in our community. If you get a chance, please go to YouTube, look up Dr. Claude Anderson. One of the most profound things that I saw him do was many years ago. He was in front of Dr. Fred Price's church, a preacher, and he had their whole audience, I mean, thousands and thousands of people in audience, and he was talking to them about redistribution of wealth in the Black community. One of the first times that had ever happened in anybody's church, especially a multi-million dollar huge church. And so, but he literally broke down and cried in front of the whole and that's not like him. He's not a weak man by any stretch of the imagination, but it's about the love for your people and the passion that you have, that you don't want to see your people just die out, number one. Number two, we are not a dying race. We are not at a negative birth rate. Now that should tell you something, because if we are not, that means somebody is.
Teacher.
Okay, so inside of that, the black man is the most valuable piece on the board. The king is the most valuable piece on the board. There is no piece more valuable. That is his job, to be valuable. He embodies the kingdom, which means that the king, he sits on the throne. He don't have to go nowhere. Very seldom will a king travel to another land. He will send a diplomat. He will send, what do you call it? What do you call those people who not, you can call them a diplomat because they are a diplomat, but that's
scribes?
a general sense. It could be scribes, but they are ambassadors.
Yes.
You send ambassadors to do that bidding and to communicate with other nations. And so what we're not understanding, us sisters, we need to understand, we seem to think that men are supposed to do what we do. And it's just not true. So we complain about, well, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, had to get up at 5 o'clock this morning, take the clothes out of the dryer because I washed 4 loaves last night. I had to get the kids' books ready. And then I had to go in there and make lunch for the kids and my husband. And then I had to start a new water laundry. There's nothing in there because when I come in, I got to remember to put the clothes in there so that I can do a load so I can stay on top of it. And then this morning, I got to make sure I take the meat out if you eat meat. I gotta make sure I take the meat out so the meat can thaw so I can make dinner. And so by the time I get home from work, or I gotta put the crock pot on so that and then I gotta go to the school. I got parent teacher conference. And so, no, there are things that our brothers participate in. It's true. And there are things that they should participate in. There are family things that they should participate in. That's a part of being a family unit. And a family will be at its best when there is participation of all parties. However, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that women were going to do 75% of the rebuilding, not men. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a man who built a nation within a nation that's still going strong today. You know, so the point is that we can't afford to diminish his value. His job is to sit on the throne. His job is on the throne. That's where he sits, on the throne. Okay? And he rules. His job is to embody the kingdom. What does that mean? That means that he embodies the land, and that means he embodies the people. He's supposed to be concerned about the well-being of the people in that kingdom, and concerned about the land that the people live on, that the land is able to produce all that they need in order to live the proper organized life that the king has envisioned. So the whole point is when we begin to understand as sisters, and as the sisters are coming together with me, and we're linking arms and we're standing firm. Why? There's this thing that I call ruling to render. So it's R times plus R. Ruling to render. And the whole point is because it only adds and multiplies the black man. It only builds the black man up. We are ruling to render. We don't want the kingdom. We can't embody the kingdom. We don't have the ability to. It's not within our nature. That doesn't mean that we can't rule to render. It doesn't mean we can't do a temporary job. We are woe man. That means I'm womb man, WOMBMAN. That means I am woe man, WOEMAN. And that means I'm woe man, WOAHMAN. And that means that I am wow man, WOWMAN, not POW. So the moment that we have the dynamics where our kings are captured and on the side of the board, they're behind bars, probably getting tortured, okay? It's gross, but they've been captured. You know, what do they say? All is fair in love. Well, what's fair in war? Wow. You know, people can get really down and dirty. So we could either complain about how down and dirty that they got, or we can strategize based on those things that they're dealing in.
Okay.
We need.
So real quick, I want to apologize to the IG family. They're playing games. You know how they do. People start speaking truth to power. So I'm. It looks like I got you back in. Again, apologies for that. But you're Shelli. You're talking. You're hitting some powerful points, especially when it comes to strategizing in war. And the importance of what you're not trying, but working to give our young men from a strategic standpoint and from the standpoint of valuing not only one another, but valuing themselves, because we can talk value all day, but if you don't even value your own self, then you're not going to value anything really outside of yourself. You might think that you are, but you're really not. So you're giving up some powerful gems. What do you need from the people? What assistance do you need from the people? How can we help? How can we bring this thing to fruition, manifestation, and play our part, take our place in the affairs of men? You got a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, that's a good question. We need sisters to understand it's time to back up. It's time to back up and stop pounding on the Black man. If you can't deal with him where he is, then back up. Because it's time for us to be mature enough to understand we have responsibilities. We set the tone. The queen is the most powerful piece on the board. She's not the most valuable piece on the board, which means the roles have been mixed up because we've been told we were the most valuable. So we've been standing in the mirror all day long, trying to figure out if the right butt cheek is fitting in the jeans the same way that the left butt cheek is fitting in the jeans. Are they tight enough? Listen, we don't have time for this anymore. The whole point is we have work to be done. We are not the most valuable piece on the board. We are the most powerful piece on the board. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that women would do 75% of the rebuilding, because he was an honorable man who knew, he understood the placement or the displacement that we had been operating under. And given that we're in proper placement, our sisters will come together, will link arms. We will work together in order to facilitate and to get behind brothers, because we only have a very limited amount of brothers. Okay, so in that, we want to help our brothers that are salvageable kings to get on a throne. Okay, so that he can embody a kingdom. Until we can have land, we need to have a virtual kingdom, if you would. But you've got to start somewhere. You can't just jump up and you're going to buy a whole country. Okay, it's just ridiculous. But where you can start is you can start with the mindset, and that mindset, that virtual land, is going to be redistribution of wealth. So our take on this project of redistribution of wealth is actually to envision, based on these components, the redistribution of wealth comes through 3 trilateral components where there's a fluidity of support from one organization to the other. And so we'll continue to take in more organizations. We have to first completely launch the project, and then we'll begin to network with other organizations that meet a criteria of sorts that will complement the work that we're doing. So not every organization would be able to partner with us yet. But the whole point is to get the best of us and work together. And then we can start to pull up some of the organizations that maybe aren't at their best, and we can help them build within their organization. So the whole point is to first start with redistribution of wealth. And that's what this project is laid out to do. The second thing is that we need more people with skills. We need more people with skills, people in media, people in television, people in videography, we've got a videography that we're doing on the project where we're going to be filming everything that's going on the project, including when we're in the studio, when the boys are in the college classrooms, when the college students are working with the boys and the chess masters are there, when our media people are working, when our artists and musicians are working. So we want to give people an opportunity to see what's going on, and we also want to showcase the worth, the value inside of our community. Look at what we're doing, especially when it comes down to our brothers. And so that's the first thing. The other thing is that we want to allow our boys and young men to see a mirror image of our best kings, so that they can understand, even though they may not have a man in the home, that they can be what it is that they desire to be. But first, we got to put something in front of them that would be desired to be attained. And so they can see a mirror image of the boys and young men. They can see a mirror image of the chess masters and the chess champions, and they can begin to make those chess moves applicable to life, because chess is math, and it's been proven that chess can increase math and reading scores as well as intelligence. I have plenty statistics to prove that. So the other thing is, Brother Yarima Karama's second word was execution. It is coming to the page to meet up with us to work. I'm not into meeting to meet. I'm not into wasting a bunch of time. The people need to understand I don't do a lot of, hemming and hawing. When I'm doing this work, I don't play. It's about serious business, and this is how you get stuff done. You don't have time to be dilly-dallying and all this other stuff. It's about getting to work. And it's well respected by people that are way up there on the ladder and have already gotten to the point that we're trying to get to. And they end up wanting to be a part of it and wanting to, we got several other artists that are also coming onto the project that we're very, very proud of. And we'll be releasing those names soon too. But there are many other artists, and so we're excited about that.
Well, that's great, Shelli. And this is the thing. It's about getting involved. It's about being a part. And one of the things is that I want the first of all, I appreciate you again for rocking with the brand. I love you all. I appreciate, I have, you all are so dedicated. Every time I get on, you get on, and I so salute you. The thing is that the people that I put on my platform, I want to get everyday people, because I think it's so important. You can't always look to what the media is throwing at you to look at. That's why I don't go at those people. I don't go at them. And I have had a few calls with people like, no, you can't get on my platform. I want everyday people who's not getting the shine, but they're out here doing the work. And so this queen is out here doing the work on the front lines. Like I said, when we first talked it was about a little over a year ago, when we first talked and connected, and I know that what she was doing, it just made me want to go harder, because I'm like, I can't have a Black woman out here with all that's going on. A Black woman doing more than me for our Black boys, when we know that our Black boys need men to look to emulate, when we know that the importance of our Black boys having those role models, something to follow that blueprint. And I'm always, I'm big on the blueprint. We have to leave a blueprint for our youth. And the blueprint that we're leaving now is it's starting to get better. But for the most part, there's still a lot of work to do. Still a lot of work. When we talk about the blueprint for our youth, there's still so much work that we have to do. And so get on. It's time to get on board. And like the sister said, we're not, it's not about time. And I just did the live stream the other day for you all, talking about time, the importance of time. When you can't allow your time to be wasted, because you can't get it back. That's the one thing you can't get back. There's so much in life that you might not get back, but you can regain. You can lose. I had a partner back in the day who, this dude would go through the airport and get $60,000, $70,000 just taken 60, 70. I'm like, dude, what? But he would make it back. I mean, by legal means, mind you, but he would still make it back, but it wasn't nothing to him. But you can't get time back like that. Like when your time's up, that's it. It's a wrap. When you called on to make that transition, or you put in a position where it's not even a transition, but you get hurt or something happens, you can't get that back. And so we got to stop wasting valuable time and start moving while we still have the ability, while we still have mobile limbs, where our limbs are still functioning to move, and start making this happen for our young people. That blueprint is so important, and it's important that we get them on the chessboard of life to understand the connection that the pawn has with the king. And I love that breakdown. I really love that breakdown with the queen being the most powerful, but not the most valuable. And that's I honestly haven't heard it put in that term before. Now I'm gonna cipher on that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm gonna cipher on that because I play chess. Yeah, I play chess. I don't know how to play checkers, but I play chess. So yeah, so that's interesting. Any other things that you want to say before we get out of here, Shelli? Because our time is up, but this is your time to express. Give any shout outs that you might want to give out, anything like that. But just let people know, final your contact info again, so that people know how to connect with you.
Absolutely. So if you want to connect with me, again, my name is Shelli, spelled SHELLIEYE. My email address is shellyeyesky@gmail.com. That's plural on the eyes. So shellyeyesky@gmail.com. You can also reach me at 614-260-6553. You can reach me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Shelli I. You can also go to our GoFundMe page, which is called Our Community Saving Our Boys. Again, our GoFundMe page is Our Community Saving Our Boys. If you'd like to find out what small way you can be a part of the project, if you want to be part of the project from a distance, then we have so many people in our community, so we want everybody to have an opportunity. Everybody might not have hands-on, but if you want to still be a part of the project from a distance, then you can also contribute to our GoFundMe page. Again, it is called Our Community Saving Our Boys. And so if you go to, you can also find it on the Facebook, and I'll repost the link to the GoFundMe page. It entails the component of the project where we're building chessboards and pieces, hand-built, designed by us, and also built. We are in the stages of redesigning for the purpose of engineering, so that we can have 3D printing done, and that's where you get a 3D image that you can actually see exactly what it's going to look like, and then you can build from there. So you can proof a 3D image. So we have blueprints, we have several stages that we've been through with that, but you can help with the building of those pieces so that every boy and young men on our project, all throughout the United States as well as outside of the country. We already have several people in other countries that want to have a chapter of our project in their country, and also other cities and states throughout the United States. So if you want to be a part of each boy and young man on this initial level, we'll come back again at a different time as we seed each chapter in each city, state, and country. And we'll ask for help again. But if you want to be a part of the, from the ground up, the grassroots aspect of things, and you want to help us build those chessboards and chess pieces so that each boy and young man, they can look at the piece in their hand. They can look at that king piece in the palm of their hand, and they can say, that's me. They can project themselves onto the board as a king, which means we can make obsolete this component that we've had to deal with, where our boys and young men are destroyed before they can even get anywhere. There's a book back in the 60s and 70s called Kill Them Before They Grow, a green book, Kill Them Before They Grow. And that was the whole point. That's the whole, that's the whole agenda, is to destroy, crush, kill, destroy before they can even get to be anybody. If you can't have it because you're dying, then nobody can have it Well, that's not the way the universe operates. Ma'at Hotep.
Okay, there you some I am back and better says they read it. So that is Shelli I. That's how you can contribute that GoFundMe. What's that again, Queen? Say that again. The GoFundMe.
The GoFundMe.
Yes.
You can find the GoFundMe page. It is called Our Community Saving Our Children.
Our
community saving our boys.
Our community saving our boys. That's a GoFundMe page. Now it just came in, and I'm going to say this, and then we're going to get ready to get off here. First of all, Shelli, I thank you for even taking the time out. I don't take it lightly. Anybody getting on my platform because of who I am and how I bring it. If you're brave enough to get on here, because